So
Funny how that happens.
funny how that happens, you know? And then I want to go back to what I wrote because I was thinking, and I don't know if Mateus was responding to my post or he was posting something else, but you know, I realized that cohesion, coherence distinction is one that is so often missed, and it isn't that cohesion isn't useful or valuable, but that it was so much of the learning of the symposium and that period of time. So
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is you see the broad range of cultures, the spectrum of cultures that we have that we're working with. So on the one hand, you have the legacy corporations, the legacy organizations, where there's too much individual contribution, there's too much competition, and they don't know how to build teams, right? And so they have, so Agile comes along and they make everything team-based, team-centered, and they create these really cool teams that are very cohesive. And then the unit that gets protected is the team, right? And so this, in a sense, could be an improvement. Maybe it's not an improvement, but this middle range, this notion of coherence, is the ability to move in and out of what we call locations and settle into a team interaction as quickly as possible without then creating a team that is protective, and then you get the politics of inclusion and exclusion. New people can't quite get on board, and so this is something that General McChrystie talks about in his book, Team of Teams, right? Because they knew how to have hierarchical chain of commands, and they knew how to create these great teams like the SEALs, right? These SWAT teams. And he talks about what had to all the different things that had to be in place for that SEAL team that saved that captain from those pirates. It was a movie made by Tom Hanks, right? And they had to execute 5 shots all at the same time with 2 boats going up and down and people moving, and or else if one person had been left alive, they would have killed Tom Hanks, and so he talked about how they experience that as one organism. So that's really deep cohesion, right? But he also in the book talks about how those teams can never get along with other teams,
Right.
So the unit of the bounded unit becomes the team. So that could be better, but it's still a bounded unit. So we try to look at that and look at the politics of inclusion and exclusion and say we can even do better than that. So this is a big reason why we moved to the notion of location. And it could be that a team is a location, and you could have just a very cohesive team as a location. But ideally, you have lots of different locations and people self-organize into different teams to evolve those locations. Like different people going to different people's houses for a barbecue, that it'll self-organize in different ways. Who cooks, who gets drunk, who plays baseball, who watches TV,
Right.
something. And yet, at the end of the day, there are some groups of people that are tighter than other groups of people, but that would be kind of the idea there. And so broadly, one of the mistakes that people doing like teal organizations or alternative organizations is that they're just switching the context and making the same mistakes, right? So they're switching to a team context, but they're making the same mistakes. They're not eliminating the politics of inclusion and exclusion. Now, ideally, that's an idealist position. You can't eliminate it entirely, but you can make it transparent in teamwork, in your team building exercises, and your facilitation. So it can tap into higher performance. So yeah, so that one little distinction is like a big deal.